The Russian air defense system neutralized 251 Ukrainian drones over Russian territory on the night of October 5 to 6, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported. Over the past night, air defense alert systems intercepted and destroyed 251 Ukrainian fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles, the agency noted on its Telegram channel. The military shot down 62 drones over the Black Sea, 40 over Crimea, 34 over Kursk, 30 over Belgorod, 20 over Nizhny Novgorod, and 17 over Voronezh. In addition, 11 UAVs were neutralized over Kuban, 5 over the Sea of Azov, 8 over the Bryansk and Tula regions, and 4 over Ryazan. 2 more drones were shot down over the Vladimir, Ivanovo, Kaluga, Tambov, and Oryol regions, and 1 each in the Lipetsk region and the Moscow region. According to media in Russian Dzerzhinsk, one of the largest manufacturers of explosives was attacked. We are talking about the factory of explosive substances named after Sverdlov in the Nizhny Novgorod region. Eyewitnesses published a video from the city. They write in local chats that drones were beaten at the factory. This plant is one of the largest Russian producers of industrial explosives, transmitting charges for the mining industry, perforating charges for the oil and gas industry, seismic and geophysical works. The company is the only producer of octogen and hexogen in Russia. This company is one of the largest manufacturers of explosives in the Russian Federation. In the Bryansk region of the Russian Federation, a thermal power plant in the settlement of Klintsy was attacked. Local residents claim that it was a missile attack. At the same time, no information has yet been received from official sources. In the Russian city of Belgorod, a blackout occurred on the night of October 6 after shelling. The Luch substation is on fire in the city. Residents report power outages. It is said that as a result of the strikes launched by HIMARS rocket launchers from the territory of the Kharkiv region, the Luch substation in the city of Belgorod was damaged, as a result of which the city and nearby settlements were left without electricity. Ukrainian drones struck Russian-occupied Crimea overnight on October 6, hitting the Feodosia oil terminal, pro-Ukrainian telegram channel Crimean Wind reported. The terminal, located about 250 kilometers from Ukraine-controlled territory, is the largest oil storage facility in Crimea. It can hold up to 250,000 tons of fuel, which supplies Russian forces. Crimean Wind said the explosion sparked a fire visible from tens of kilometers away, while additional blasts were reported near the Saki and Kacha airfields.
Ukraine has intensified its attacks on Russian oil refineries, and the new attacks are already causing significant economic impact. According to experts, nearly 40% of Russian refinery capacity is currently idle, primarily due to Ukrainian drone attacks, which account for up to 70% of the shutdowns. Scheduled maintenance at some plants had to be postponed to at least partially maintain production. Washington Post reports. The consequences are also being felt by ordinary consumers. The fuel shortage in Russia is reaching approximately 20% of monthly gasoline demand. That's about 400,000 tons of the 2 million normally consumed. About 1 in 50 gas stations has already stopped selling gasoline, and national production has fallen by approximately 10%. Russia, an economic powerhouse and energy resource, accustomed to exporting oil, is now forced to import petroleum products, primarily gasoline. Since July, the country has increased fuel purchases from Belarus by 36% compared to last year, and in September, imports rose by almost 170% compared to the previous month. However, these volumes are still insufficient to meet domestic demand. Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak proposed expanding gasoline imports, including from China, South Korea, and Singapore, and eliminating the corresponding duties. Furthermore, Russian authorities are considering the use of various chemical additives, including ethanol, monomethylanilene, a substance banned 10 years ago. To ease the burden on the domestic market, the government extended the ban on gasoline and diesel exports until the end of the year. Supply disruptions are being felt most acutely in Crimea and several other regions of the country. As a reminder, regular Ukrainian drone strikes on oil and gas facilities in Russia are depriving it of its main source of funding for the war. Forbes wrote that this could destabilize Russian society as much as it did on the eve of the February Revolution of 1917. The publication notes that Ukraine attempted to target this vulnerable spot of the aggressor as early as late 2023. But then the Biden administration, fearing rising global oil prices, effectively vetoed Kiev's strategy. In the summer of 2025, Ukraine launched a new campaign of strikes against Russian refineries and pipelines. This time, with Washington no longer objecting to such strikes, the campaign produced significant results. According to various estimates, Russia lost between 17% and 20% of its oil refining capacity. This has caused significant fuel shortages and rising prices on Russia's domestic market, increasing social pressure on the Kremlin as ordinary Russians increasingly feel the effects of the war. Ukrainian drone strikes on oil refineries achieve what sanctions alone couldn't. Moscow has found ways to adapt to Western sanctions, but it still lacks reliable defense against Ukrainian drones, explained former Ukrainian Defense Ministry advisor Serhiy Kuzan. The authors of the article noted that Russian propaganda cannot ignore the queues at gas stations in many regions of Russia, but instead tries to explain this away as the consequences of increased seasonal demand for fuel and unscheduled refinery maintenance. Only occasionally does it acknowledge that these unscheduled maintenance are caused by destructive drone debris flying freely over European Russia. And all this is happening against the backdrop of a gradual deterioration in the overall economic situation in Russia. While these attacks on refineries alone won't end the war, they are shaping its trajectory. Putin often positions himself as the heir to the Tsars, restoring the empire. But he should recall Tsar Nicholas II during World War I, when overextended fronts and domestic shortages made domestic unrest as dangerous as an enemy abroad. The article's authors noted